So what the book's gonna tell us? The book's gonna tell us more about the Democrats. The book gonna be an extension of Jake Tapper and Alex Thompson's book, Original Sin? Yet another Democrat coming out and telling us about stuff that a whole bunch of stuff on the right was telling us, but y'all swore we shouldn't listen to while y'all were engaging in cancel culture, while y'all were engaging in excoriating anybody that called the Democratic Party out for what the hell was going on. That's what we supposed to do now? That's what we supposed to do. We're supposed to listen to you now. Okay.
We did have legislative wins.
Sure,
and
but he didn't talk about him that well, though. He couldn't talk about them. He wasn't campaigning.
No. Wait. First of all, he did talk about them. Whether it broke through or not, he did. Tim, he did talk about.
I mean, he talked way less to the press than Donald Trump does. Way less. And he wasn't out there at all. He wasn't good off the cuff. He wasn't doing press conferences. Let's just be real. Like, he didn't do paid events.
Tim, that's not true. Tim, you're conflating all of it. That's what you're doing. No, you're telling me he didn't talk well about it. Then you're telling me he didn't talk at all.
He didn't do either. He didn't talk very often, and when he did, it wasn't very good. He sounded very old.
Maybe you weren't paying attention to what we were doing at the White House. But
I paid attention. I'm with you on the policies. I'm talking about his performance.
The president spoke to the American people a couple times a week. He traveled and did domestic travel and talked directly to the American people.
Boy. So, you got to talk about Karine Jean-Pierre, the disgraced DEI former press secretary for the Biden administration, okay? Because this woman has now come out and stabbed the Democrat Party in the back, kind of, right? By selling this book that nobody's going to read, just like Kamala's book. Nobody's going to read the book, right? But hey, the Democrat Party, because they are the party of snakes and backstabbers, everybody is trying to make a dime off of the Biden administration, right? We saw Jake Tapper try to do it. We got Karine Jean-Pierre, Kamala Harris. Like, anybody who worked for the Biden administration, they're all now trying to get paid and saying negative things about the Biden administration, saying things that they should have said when Biden was in office, right? And again, Karine Jean-Pierre is just one of these opportunists who has made a career lying on behalf of the Democrat Party. And now all of a sudden she wants us to believe that she's a truth teller, right? She's going to tell the truth about the Democrats and what happened, but she's still going to end up lying, right? Because she's going to be confronted on the biggest lie that she participated in while Biden was in the White House, which is covering up his mental and physical decline, okay? And she's going to struggle to answer the question of how in the world were you with this guy every single day, but yet you didn't witness the decline. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get into this.
Lines, that is the subtitle, and Karine Jean-Pierre joins us now. Great to have you here.
Thank you, Tony. Thank you, Gayle. Thank you, Nate. Thank you for having me.
So when this book landed on my desk and I saw a broken White House in the subtitle, I have to say, I thought you were going to say that try as you might to convince Joe Biden to drop out of the race, because what we were seeing is what you were seeing, and he was struggling, couldn't do it. I thought you were going to say you were angry at that, but mostly...
I did too.
What you said in this book is you're angry at the people who tried to push him out.
Yes, that's correct.
Some Americans are going to say, seriously?
But not just the party that pushed him out, the party as it's behaving today in this moment when we need a Democratic Party to be fighting, to be an opposition party. And that really what ignited the book. Right after the administration, I was just minding my business, right? No longer a public servant, going to the grocery store, going to my kids' school. People would come up to me, and strangers, and they would say, what's going on with the Democratic Party? Why aren't they fighting? We knew what was going to happen after this election. Why are they not prepared? So it is, the stakes were really high. So it's connected also to the moment that we are in. I'm telling a story, obviously, my story, and how I started thinking about the Democratic Party and my involvement in it. And then fast forward to today, the disappointment, the disillusionment that millions of people have.
But
and
I want to pick up on what Tony was saying.
Yeah, so again, let me translate here, okay? Cringe is upset that the Democrat Party betrayed her, right? The Democrat Party decided that they wanted to get rid of Joe Biden and replace him with Kamala Harris, which basically meant that she was fired, right? She would lose her job as chief propagandist, okay? So she's pissed off that the Biden regime got pushed out of the White House. Now, again, this book is not about any real troops. This is just about her trying to get revenge on those who made her lose her job, okay? Because when questioned, again, on some very basic stuff about, hey, you know, you spent a lot of time around Joe Biden, even the left-wing propagandists aren't falling for her nonsense, the propaganda that she's pushing out there. It's really sad to see, but it's also kind of hilarious how nobody's falling for this.
I guess I wonder if you feel this. Like, some of us feel let down because I don't think that he was able to live up to his rhetoric on that. He wasn't capable at his age of making the case from a communication standpoint. There's a lot of the good things he did people didn't know about because he wasn't capable of making a vigorous case. Obviously, he wasn't capable of making a vigorous case on the debate stage. And now, you know, God love him, we send him our best, but he, you know, has cancer. Like, the notion that this person was up for being president to 2028, was up for the communications responsibility of this job and fighting. No, well, if he won again, he would have to have been president all the way till 2028. I think that's an absurd thing to suggest, that he could have been president. Do you think he could have been president in 2028?
I can't speak to that. Here's what I.
Well, obviously, no. But so was he up for it though? I guess. I just big like he didn't have the vigor for this fight.
Let me. We have to rewind the tape a little bit and not be revisionist historians here, because no. But let's just follow me for a second.
Yeah, sure.
In 2023, the winter and spring of 2023, we were coming out a successful midterm elections for Democrats, in the sense that we didn't have a red wave. And it was seen as one of the most successful first.
You lost the House.
No, but remember, it was supposed to be a red. I'm not saying.
I know,
but historically, if you look at other first-term presidents, the midterm elections, sure. Okay, just follow me for a second.
Sure, I'm just saying it wasn't that great of a midterm.
I didn't. That's not what I said. I said there was I said it wasn't a red wave.
True.
That's what I said. It was predicted to be an awful, awful first term midterms, and it wasn't that. It just wasn't. And the reason why was because Democrats in their districts, in their state, were able to tout what we had been able to do as an administration, and that is also really important. We cannot forget that. Arguably, right? Not even arguably, objectively, this president had a pretty successful couple of years as president, and he got that done because of his experience. And now we're still in the spring, the winter spring of 2023. He was the only person to have beaten Donald Trump, still is. And people in the Democratic Party, leadership in the Democratic Party, were actually saying that he should run for re-election. So we have to look at the time when he made this decision. That was the time that he made the decision in 2023, early 2023. And so that is one of the reasons what came to his mind, I believe. I never even talked to him about it, but those were the facts that were happening in that time.
Yeah, so when your propagandists aren't falling for your BS, right? When you get pushed back on a left-wing outlet, right? When it comes to your BS, right? When they're not buying into your nonsense, you know that your propaganda is bad, okay? Again, this is part of the reason why the Biden administration couldn't sell the shit sandwich to the American people, right? It's because they had a terrible salesman, okay? Karine Jean-Pierre is so bad, she can't even sell bullshit to the left-wing loonies. It's sad, it really is. She's really bad. She's really, really, really bad as a propagandist.
Yes, I too thought that. And people said, why didn't members of his inner circle speak up about what many believe was the apparent decline of Joe Biden? And you said, you're a member of the inner circle and you never saw the decline. And after that, I wrote, how? Yep. You even write, Karine, that you were on the plane with him going to the debate and you didn't see anything.
Well, when we were on Air Force One going to the debate, you got to remember his campaign people were on the team, his family was on the team. I actually was one of those rare trips that I didn't really see him until after the debate, even though I was on the plane. So really, I want everybody to know that I take this question incredibly seriously. I do. I was his White House press secretary, which means I had a role that saw him practically every day and traveled with him
and you saw nothing.
for more than 95%. We've always said we're not going to say, oh, he didn't age. He aged, and he poked fun at it. We always owned up, and with age comes what happens when you get older.
Which is?
But when we talk
Cognitive decline. That's what happens, right? And Karine Jean-Pierre, did you see it or not? Did you notice it or not? Yes or no, right? Notice how she's not answering the question, okay? Because, again, this book is not designed to actually tell any truths. It's just more propaganda, right? This is the Biden administration telling their side of the story, right? That's what she is, okay? She's a holdover from the Biden administration trying to get revenge on behalf of the Biden administration, throwing the people who got rid of Biden under the bus, right? That is what her job is right now, okay? There's a full-blown civil war within the Democrat Party between the Obama people, the Biden people, the Kamala people, the Pelosi people, right? All of the people that run the Democrat Party, the oligarchs, okay? They're all fighting, okay? They're all fighting.
The mental acuity, and again, I take this very, very seriously.
Yeah.
I never saw anyone who wasn't there. I saw someone who was always engaged.
Yeah, but the American people saw it. So if you didn't see it, but the American people saw it, why should we read your book, right? Again, what are you going to tell us? What are you going to tell us if you can't even tell us something as basic as, yes, I saw Biden mentally declining, and I covered it up because I was a paid propagandist on his behalf. It was my job, right, to lie. If you can't tell us the truth about that, why should we read your book? Okay, what in this book should I read if you can't even give me basic truths about that? If you're going to gaslight me on this, again, there's no point. There's no reason to read this book. This book ain't going to sell 80 copies, right? This book is not going to sell any copies at all.
Someone who understood policy, pushed us on the policy, and also understood history. And there were times, I'll tell you the story, there were times where he would call me into the Oval Office, and I would be like, oh no, because I knew whatever he was going to ask me was going to be direct, was going to be about a story he read, about how we're pushing back.
Now, what he was asking you is why is the propaganda not working? That's what he really was asking Karine Jean-Pierre about, because Biden had low approval ratings throughout his whole term, and they wanted to get rid of Karine Jean-Pierre, right? But Karine Jean-Pierre wouldn't allow them to get rid of her because she was going to boo-hoo, whine, and cry racism. She was going to say, you're attacking a black woman, so they were stuck with her, right? And so Biden was calling her in the office, saying, hey, listen, why is it that the propaganda is not working? Why are my approval ratings so low? Okay, why are you not doing your job better? Okay, I'm just saying, that's what he was really upset about.
Pushing a message forward.
And you write about the people within the party pushing him out. Some would describe those people fighting for a replacement candidate is fighting. But you also describe this current state of the Democratic Party as too timid. And what can the Democratic Party do to get out of this timid and even some will say disappointing place?
So timid that you've gotten out of the Democratic Party.
Here's the thing. I actually think that the system is broken. The two-party system is broken, and we need it to be fixed, to be working in order for a democracy. Look, just this past Saturday, millions of people, 7 million people showed up to the street to talk about no kings, right? It was a no king rally, to talk about making sure we're fighting for our democracy.
Right.
And it grew. That was the third one. It grew. And so the power should be in the hands of the people, not in the White House, not with one establishment, more broadly.
Yeah.
And so I think as an opposition party, we should see, for example, why aren't there more lawsuits from Democrats? Why are outside groups lining up to do the opposition protests? We should have the Democrats more involved. Why are Democrats not standing in front of a hospital that's about to be shut down because of GOP hikes that is going to cost lives?
Yeah.
Why are they doing press conferences there? We should not. What we're seeing and what I hear from people, not just me, they feel as if the Democratic Party is acting as it is normal times, and they are relinquishing their power.
Will you create a new party? Is that what you're angling for?
No, so I actually talk about this in the book, and it's very nuanced. I'm very much aligned with the values of the Democratic Party.
And of course, you're far left progressive. The only thing you're saying is that the Democrat Party is not Trump deranged enough, right? You're mad at the Democrat Party because they got rid of Biden, aka they fired your ass, right? Instead of focusing on Trump only, right? you for whatever reason, Karine Jean-Pierre thought that it would be a good idea for Democrats to run a skeleton against Trump, right? To run Biden against Trump, and he was going to get landslided. He was going to get landslided way worse than Kamala got landslided, right? So, you know, what Karine really should be complaining about is why is that Biden decided to run in the first place, right? Why did he decide to continue to run? in which, you know, she doesn't really have a good answer for that. She doesn't have a good answer for anything. Again, I'm surprised they hired this woman to be the chief propagandist in the first place, because she's terrible at this. Absolutely terrible.
Understand what it means to have a third-party system and how that can. I talk about the history of third-party candidates in presidential. What I am saying is I want to start a conversation. And I feel like I am now a private citizen, and I have the ability to do that.
Yeah.
And if I could be from the outside pushing and saying, hey, this two-party system isn't working. There are millions of people, not just me, millions of people who are part of the independent party who feel like they're not seen. And younger people are becoming independents by...
We would love to see our representatives get along, too, as well.
Yeah, and I talk about that, too, in the book. The partisanship has hurt us.
Karine Jean-Pierre.
Yeah, but at the same time, you're arguing that the Democrats need to be more partisan, right? They need to continue to push back against Trump, but at the same time, you're saying that the partisanship is wrong and that the politicians need to work together. Well, they can't work together if you want the Democrats to be more far left, right? If you want the Democrats to be more Trump deranged. Again, there's nothing coherent coming out of this woman's mouth. Okay, I think that she must be on the dating market for a white woman, right? Because I mean, she started to look kind of like a white woman a little bit, right? Even though she's super dark. She got these blonde streaks. Okay, she's trying to make her hair blonde. Yeah, she's trying to get her a white woman, right? She's in the market. She's in the dating market for a white woman. That's what I think. Okay, but outside of that, man, yeah, nobody's reading this book. Okay, this book is gonna flop, right? She's not telling any truths, right? Essentially, she's just trying to get revenge. She's trying to make a quick buck. Okay, she's selling out the establishment Democrats because she's a progressive anyways, and she's just mad because the establishment went after Joe Biden. So again, this is her attacking them from the left on behalf of Joe Biden, right? That's essentially what she's doing. Regardless, I enjoy the drama, right? I just think that she's delusional, right? I just think that for her to come out here and to claim that she spent every single day with Joe Biden, but yet she didn't notice the mental decline, it just undermines her role that she's trying to play as this independent truth teller. If you can't tell us the truth about Joe Biden and his mental decline, then I don't trust anything that you got to say. So let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Most importantly, share a Black conservative perspective. Peace.